Hello there and a very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. Well, it's postal voting day for the presidential election 2024. Now let's dive into the details. Postal voting for the upcoming presidential election 2024 will officially begin today according to the country's election commission. Now this process will take place today and throughout the next 2 days as well across 1,500 centres established to facilitate postal voting. Now from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. daily during these 3 days, government institutions will host postal voting centres providing facilities for the eligible voters to exercise their franchise. Now for those unable to vote today and tomorrow, additional opportunities will be made available for postal voting on the 11th and 12th of September at district election officers corresponding the workplace of the public sector employee. Now the Election Commission has also specified that public servants directly involved in the election process, including those at district secretariats and the Election Commission itself, can cast their postal votes today. Now at the same time, this provision is also extended to staff at senior DIG officers, SSP and ASP officers, police stations, special task force camps, special police units as well as the VIP security divisions, and they also can exercise their vote today and tomorrow. Now furthermore, postal voters from the armed forces and other government institutions can start voting tomorrow and the day after. Now this year, a total of 712,319 public sector employees are eligible to exercise their franchise via postal vote. Now, police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thalduwa said that in order to ensure security at the polling stations, a special security program has also been put. Voting comes election monitoring. Now, election monitors have also said that they have implemented a special program to monitor and observe postal voting across Sri Lanka. Now, Rohan Hettiarachchi, the executive director of PAFREL, said around 900 observers from PAFREL will be deployed to monitor the postal voting across these voting centres set up in various locations in the country. Now, in addition, Manjula Gajanayaka, the executive director of the Institute of Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, said that mobile units will also be deployed across the island to monitor and observe the postal voting process. Now, if you just woke up this morning and if you woke up earlier, you would have experienced some heavy rainfall across many areas in Colombo and its suburbs and several other areas in the country. Now, to give you an update on the weather, the Met Department has issued a weather alert for heavy rains throughout the day. Now, the Department of Meteorology has issued a weather alert indicating that showers or thunder showers are expected at various times in the western Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces, as well as in the Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Now, some areas in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces along with Galle and Matara will experience heavy rainfall of over 50 millimeters. At the same time, wind speeds ranging from 40 to 50 kilometers are anticipated in the western slopes of the Central Hills, as well as the Trincomalee and the Hambantota district. Now, on a related note, the sun will be directly overhead in Sri Lanka until the 6th of September due to its relative southward motion. Now, the sun will be directly over Kaluthura, Nevitigala, Kahawatha and Okanda at approximately 12:09 p.m. Now, that's according to the Met Department. Now, the Met Department is also warning the general public to take necessary precautions during heavy rains as well as during the period when the sun is directly overhead Sri Lanka. Now, let's move gears to the election campaign trail. On the 21st of September, Sri Lankans around 17 million will head to polling stations across the island to exercise their franchise to elect the next president of Sri Lanka. Now, on the campaign trail, many promises are being made with regard to the election, and then these promises also relate to salaries. Now, in recent weeks, we have witnessed various statements being made with regard to the salaries of the public sector. Now, commencing on the 1st of January 2025, according to the government, the basic salary of the public service will be increased by at least 24% to the lowest ranks, with an increase ranging from 24 to 50% for all other ranks. Now, the report by an expert committee that was appointed by the President to investigate and make recommendations on the public sector salaries was also handed over to the President yesterday. Now, according to this report and according to the statement made by the President's Media Division, office assistants will see an increase of 5,440 rupees depending on their grade. Now, the President's Media Division has also published a detailed list of all the salary increments based on the grades and the positions of the public sector. Now, at the same time, SJP's presidential candidate Sajit Prasa recently promised a 24% salary increase and raising the living allowance of the public sector. Now, Anura Kumara from the NPP has also promised a salary increase for public sector employees, but not with a percentage, but he mentioned that the salary increase will take place every 6 months in proportionate to the cost of living. Now, while all these developments are happening, independent presidential candidate and President Ranil Wickramasinghe has urged the Samagi Jana Balawegya and the Janata Vimukti Peramuna-led NPP to remove the proposals related to the increasing of public sector salaries from their manifestos. Now, he said that this has already been done, it has already been introduced, and it will come into effect from January. Now, he said that 2 years ago, no one would have believed that he would be able to stand on a platform and announce that public sector salaries would be increased. Now, he emphasized that he is fulfilling the promises that were made, unlike any other leader who merely makes promises on the election platform. He also said that he and his team had to make difficult decisions to stabilize the country's economy and protect the Sri Lankan rupee. Now, he said, quote, "Had we not taken those steps, we would have been in a much worse situation today, similar to what Greece experienced." Now, the President was speaking at an election campaign rally named Puluwang Sri Lanka in Palmadilla. Now, at the same time, the Samagi Jana Balawegya's presidential candidate Sajit Prasa has made a bold promise to implement a robust development program for the war-torn northern and eastern provinces of the country. He says this is going to be a feat that no other president in the country has achieved. Now, Premadasa announced plans to hold a significant international support and aid conference focusing on these regions for the first time since the post-war period. Now, Sajit Premadasa said that this conference aims to attract global attention and resources to drive massive development initiatives in the northern and eastern provinces of the country. Now, Sajit Premadasa emphasized that the strategic importance of Mana and its connectivity with other districts in the country and also its close proximity to India. Now, Anura Kumara is the presidential candidate from the Jatika Jana Balawegya. Now, he also has made a bold promise last evening. Now, he said he is going to make Sri Lanka's IT industry into a $5 billion industry by 2030. Now, Disanayake emphasized that the need for a new constitution that would strengthen the basic rights of the citizens of Sri Lanka and promote national harmony and ensure the leaders are accountable to the law. He also highlighted the importance of eliminating the privileges and excessive expenses associated with politicians, aiming to create a political environment where politicians and ordinary citizens are treated equally under the law. Now, turning to economic development, Anura Kumara pointed out the disparity between Sri Lanka's current IT economy, valued at $1.2 billion, and India's IT industry, which is around $253 billion. He stressed the potential for growth through connectivity and innovation driven by a new generation of educated and skilled young people. Now, Disanayake's plan also includes producing 200,000 new software engineers by 2030 in Sri Lanka, which he believes will be instrumental for the growth of the IT sector in the country. Now, another presidential candidate, the youngest presidential candidate this year, is Namal Rajapakse, the son of former President Mahinda Rajapakse and nephew of Gotabaya Rajapakse, who was also a president of Sri Lanka. Now, Namal Rajapakse has emphasized his commitment to a unified national vision that transcends language and religious differences. Now, Rajapakse assured that his administration would implement a fair and straightforward tax policy, ensuring that businesses are not subject to indefinite taxation. Now, highlighting the government's plan to promote sport tourism, Rajapakse reiterated his commitment to support local industries, including local fishermen and local hoteliers. Now, he also firmly rejected the notion of policies that vary based on language or religion, asserting that the SLPP is a national political party with a vision for the whole of Sri Lanka. Now, on the election campaign trail, over the recent years, what we've seen is a statement being made with regard to the executive presidency. There have been statements being made with regard to abolishing the executive presidency and also maintaining the executive presidency. Now, as the election approaches, three major candidates have presented different positions with regard to the executive presidency. Now, what is the executive presidency? The executive presidency in Sri Lanka is a powerful and influential position within the country's political system. Now, significant changes came with the 1978 constitution introduced by then President J.R. Jayawardena, which transformed the office of the president into an executive presidency. Now, this change not only granted the president executive powers, and it also made the role of the head of state and the head of government. Now, critics argue that the executive presidency centralizes too much around one individual, leading to potential abuses and undermining democratic checks and balances. Now, the 2024 presidential election in Sri Lanka is going to be the first election since the 2022 economic crisis experienced in the country. Now, Anura Kumara, the candidate for the National People's Power or the Jatika Jana Balavegya, in his manifesto mentioned that he would abolish the executive presidency. Now, Sajit Prasa, the presidential candidate for the Samagi Jana Balavegya, has said that they would maintain the executive presidency and ensure that the power of the executive presidency is not misused or abused. Now, independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickramasinghe, speaking at a forum in Colombo and in response to a question on abolishing the executive presidency, said that his main focus is economic stability over abolishing the executive presidency. He said the task of that will be vested with the next elected parliament, and he is more focused on restoring and bringing stability to the country's economy. Now, leaving aside politics, we've seen queues form up opposite the passport office or the Department of Immigration and Immigration in Battaramulla. Now, for many days, people have been lining up to get those passports, and the Department of Immigration has announced that it will receive a new batch of passports with advanced security features by the 15th of October. Now, this move is expected to address the current crisis in passport issuances in the country. Now, according to the department, an order of 5 million such new passports have been placed, and the first shipment of 50,000 passports is set to arrive by mid-October. Now, this initial batch will help alleviate the backlog and streamline the issuance of passports. Now, as I mentioned, in recent days, we've seen long queues opposite the Department of Immigration and Immigration, and some people have been staying there for days just to get a number and an appointment to obtain the passport to travel overseas. Now, until the new passports arrive, the Department of Immigration and Immigration is saying that daily 1,000 passports will be issued. Now, a senior officer mentioned that there are currently around 30,000 blank passports available with the department until the new shipment arrives, and these passports will be provided managed in a proper manner and according to the requirement. Now, in the meantime, long queues were observed opposite the Department of Immigration and Immigration, and as I mentioned, there have been people waiting there for many days to just obtain an appointment and a number to get inside the premises and hand over their documents to obtain a passport. Well, if you want to follow more on the stories that we just brought you, do log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk, and also Follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok and YouTube for more of the very latest. Until then, take care and stay safe.